In a typical year, I'll test drive anywhere from 80 to 100 vehicles. So it takes a lot to impress me and really get my attention. This much awaited 2016 Volvo XC90 has done just that. I'm completely blown away by the exterior, interior, and overall ride quality. So let's start with the exterior. This vehicle has moved extremely upscale, pushing the likes of Range Rover models, and that takes a lot to do. I think they've blown completely past the Japanese competitors such as the Acura MDX and Infiniti QX60. I recently drove those vehicles, and now after driving this one, those feel extremely dated to me. Like the styling, like the LED treatment, just overall the 21-inch wheels that you can get make this vehicle look like a $90,000 crossover and not a $50,000 to $60,000 crossover. So we got that out of the way. Let's get into the interior. The guy that used to design Bentley interiors, well, he's now doing Volvo interiors, and this is really the first vehicle under the new ownership of the Chinese manufacturer Geely, and they have done an amazing job. When I look at the MDX and the QX60, they're just full of clutter. When I look at this vehicle, I feel like I'm in the Museum of Modern Art. You have a 9-inch touchscreen high-definition display that's also very quick to react, unlike Cadillac's Q system. You have the Bowers & Wilkins audio system, extremely informative and visible gauges. It's all one big TFT screen. You have a volume knob, a defrost, hazard, and those are required by law, but that's it. That's all the buttons you have. Under the hood, you have a 2-liter turbocharged and supercharged 4-cylinder engine that produces 316 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. That's 158 horsepower per liter. That's a lot. And this feels more like a V6, a high-powered V6, than it does a 4-cylinder. They just did a tremendous job. And of course, the Volvo seats, what can you say about that? They make the best seats in the industry. I want my office chair to be made by Volvo. You know, I know I sound like an ad and that everything's great. Well, everything's not great. We had a freeze up on the screen once this week. Not sure what happened there, but about 10 minutes later, it freed itself up. Okay, starting price about $49,000 for the base model and $55,000 for the one we're driving here, which is known as the Inscription. The base model is known as Momentum. And hopefully that's what Volvo is going to get with this vehicle, is a lot of momentum, because they certainly need it. Their sales are really down. The XC90 is part of an all-new platform, and 2 new vehicles are coming off this platform, the S90 and the V90. The V90 being the wagon, S90 being a sedan. So because of this flexible architecture, you can produce multiple vehicles off of it. I think they've got a real winner on their hands. If you're in the market for one of those vehicles, even if you're in the market for a Mercedes GLE or BMW X5, just go test drive this car. The head-up display, you've got this amazing center stack here. You've got beautiful wood. It feels like a Scandinavian showroom. And on the second row, you have an optional integrated booster seat. So if you have a kid that's out of the child seat and now needs a booster seat, you don't want to have to, move that thing in and out. Later this year, a third model will be joining the XC90 lineup, and it'll be the T8. It's not going to have a V8, but what it will have is a plug-in hybrid, which will have a 50 mile per gallon equivalent on a single charge. That's very impressive. So imagine if you live in a town where you typically run short errands, drop kids off at school, practice, whatever, you may never have to go to a gas station, just plug in every night. That's great. No one else in that segment is offering that. So a lot of great technologies in this car. This is proof that Volvo had great people, had great intellectual property within the company, but just didn't have the financial backing. Ford, quite honestly, did Volvo a big disservice. And when they sold it off a few years ago, we were skeptical, but now we're seeing the byproduct of that relationship, and it's amazing. The Chinese write a big check, and boom, you have an interior like this. Really has blown away the segment as far as I'm concerned. This is how interiors should look. We're all used to working with iPads and similar devices. A 9-inch screen that can do everything you need it to do. Just push the home button and you got everything right here in an instant. Navigation, media, This is your phone, weather, Apple CarPlay is coming, everything right here that you need. And I love it because it lets you focus on driving and not so much on all the different controls and knobs. Compare this to an MDX. The MDX has about 40 knobs right here in a split screen. That thing is completely confusing to the driver, whereas this is just pleasant to the driver. Because this is a Volvo, it's loaded with safety features. And the lane keep assist is especially helpful, and I'll demonstrate that. So once you get up to speeds over about 40, 45 miles an hour, and of course you have to have the system engaged, I'll demonstrate. When you have your hands on the wheel, no problem. If you use your turn signal to change lanes, no problem. But if I don't, as you can see, very aggressive lane keep assist. Volvo also has an industry first. It's called basically road departure assist. And essentially what they found is that when people fall asleep and just completely launch from the road, that bad things can happen. Now, bad things are still going to happen, but one thing they do is they cinch up the seat belt so it centers your vertebrae. They also preload the seats so that they absorb more of the shock. And all that's designed to minimize the injury. You're going to get injured if you launch this car or any car off the road, but with the XC90, your injuries will be less.